Okay, here is part 4 of our notes on Rome. This part of the notes kind of starts off with us being in the Roman Empire phase of our unit. We just kind of finished off the unit on, or the part of the unit on the Republic. Alright, so here we go. The Pax Romana, which was started under the leadership of Augustus, who took over after Julius Caesar was murdered. Okay, Pax Romana means Roman peace in Latin. Okay, so make sure you know that. That peace lasted approximately 200 years. So also remember that. All right, Octavian, the adopted son of Julius Caesar, becomes Augustus, which means exalted one, kind of like great one, magnificent one, etc. During his rule, Rome reaches its peak in power and enjoys peace. From 27 BC to 180 AD, there will be a period of 207 years of peace called the Pax Romana. And so this is kind of during that 200 years, this is Rome at its highest power, the biggest its empire got. So it was a pretty good time to be a Roman during the Pax Romana. And again, this all started under Augustus. Economically, during the Pax Romana, things were very good. The economy was well. You didn't have civil wars amongst Romans. Rome was still trying to conquer places, but for the most part, it was peaceful within the empire. Bread was also something that was freely distributed. Agriculture was still the most important business of the Roman Empire. And because when we look back here, Rome is in Europe, Africa, and then Asia over here, they used the same money throughout all parts of the empire. So that made trade easier. So they used a uniform currency called a denarius, which made trade easier. Imagine if all 50 states in America had different money and you went on vacation in the summer. It would be a headache getting the different currencies that you had to, for the states you had to travel through. Also, now it doesn't seem like a big deal, but back then it was, roads were improved. Okay, you can see how they made their roads. Dirt roads would wash out, could get eroded by wind, water, etc. Okay, so these roads allowed people to travel safely through all parts of the empire, through the European parts, the Asian parts, as well as the African parts. And here's a Roman denarii, which was the coin that they used. So the economy created prosperity. Okay, a period of success. People were living well. There was comfort, wealth, security, and stability. Again, not a lot of civil wars. Things had kind of calmed down between patricians and plebeians. Government and society of the Pax Romana. Augustus was a great emperor who created uniform law. Laws were the same throughout the empire. So if you broke a law in Rome, if you broke a law in that same law in Carthage, okay, or North Africa or Asia, it was the same. Okay, so that made things easier, and it made it easier to govern and manage the empire. There was also a civil service set up so that people could work the government and help the emperor run the government. Okay, if Augustus is over here, who's managing this part of the empire over here? Who's managing this part? Who's managing this part? So he needed help. He needed a civil service system to help him do those things. And obviously the government had become very stable. All right. And again, toga was a common feature of Rome, and you can see the different colors here. I'm not going to go over all this, but anyway. And one other feature I wanted to mention, slaves could move up in Roman society. Okay. If you were at the lower end of the social class system, you could have over time. It wasn't easy, but you could move up the social classes. Stable social classes. Again, patricians and plebeians were pretty, for the most part, I wouldn't say super happy, but things were peaceful. And there was an emphasis on the family, raising good kids, acting the right way, teaching people how to be a good Roman citizen. and not be corrupt, have bad morals, principles, etc. Emperor succession. Okay, when our president either dies or is not reelected, there is a process to pick the next one. At first, there really wasn't, or at first there was. Usually, the succession was by hereditary. So, or if the father died, the son would take over, etc., etc., etc. Then after a while, again, you had a lot of emperors getting murdered, and so killing your way to become emperor was certainly a possibility. Anyway, so peace and prosperity depended on an orderly transfer of power. If they murdered somebody, that could create another civil war, which really didn't happen. But there was no written law of how to transfer the emperor's power when he died. And for a while, there was a period where you had the 5 good emperors, which starts back over through here with Marcus Aurelius, Pius, Hadrian, Trajan, and those guys did their best to kind of manage the empire and keep it together. All right, things really kind of started to go downhill in Rome around the time of Commodus, which is after the Pax Romana, near the end of the Pax Romana. This guy Pertinax here, his dad was a slave. Okay, so he came from a slave family to become emperor, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so that's pretty much it on Pax Romana. It's just a side note. There was a comic that came out a few years ago about they were trying to change the future because World War III was going to happen. So they realized, hey, if we change this in ancient Rome, it'll prevent future wars. So they send back the military special forces and they fight against the Roman legion. So pretty cool. Check it out if you can. That's the notes, and that's it. So see you next class.